Thank you. And Mr. Secretary, I'm delighted that your successor has chosen to remind all of how effective he has been since he assumed that role.
So moved.
And he has been, and he has been.
The gentleman from Texas, Mr. Arrington, is recognized to inquire.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your service, Mr. Secretary. In the interest of time, I'm jumping right in.
Right to it.
President Biden's fond of saying that you show us your budgets, I'll show you your priorities. The President has laid out his priorities in his budget, and including the health care budget. I'd like to address two of the major misplaced priorities from this administration that will cause catastrophic consequences, literally catastrophic consequences to our country. The Medicare Trust Fund, as you know, is running out of money by 2026. That's the closest we've gotten to insolvency in 3 decades. And not only does the President's budget/priorities not address this real crisis, it doesn't even mention it. His health care budget mentions climate and the climate crisis 16 times, Mr. Secretary. Not once does it mention the real crisis that our seniors face. There's not a scientist on either side that can say different things. Republicans, Democrats, actuaries, economists, everyone knows that this will be a major disaster for the 65 million seniors, 10,000 a day coming online, needing this safety net, depending on this safety net, but not having a plan, not even mentioning addressing it. I hear about vulnerable people and disparity and inequity. I can't think of a greater disparity to a more important group of Americans than these seniors who don't have their president. And I haven't heard from you, Mr. Secretary, or in the budget. I think you own the budget too. I see no plan. Now, in addition to that, there is a plan and there is a priority to expand a failed government-controlled health care program called the Affordable Health Care Act, the Obamacare, which was neither affordable nor did it give greater access to the American people, but we're going to expand it. Here's the real insult in this whole thing. We're expanding it to people. I should say the budget of the president, y'all's budget, will expand it to people, subsidize the expansion of Obamacare to people making $500,000 a year. Now, you realize half of the people on Medicare are on a fixed income making less than $30,000. I call that a major hole in the plan and a major misplaced priority. I can tell you my seniors in West Texas aren't thinking about the end of the world on account of carbon emission. They're thinking about the end of their world when there's no plan and this important safety net collapses. They're not worried about rising sea levels. They're worried about the rising cost of their health care, Mr. Secretary. Now, let me switch gears here. I got less than a minute. Your administration is still imposing vaccine mandates on the American people, from our troops to our health care workers. Also, you're fighting a mask mandate, tooth and nail, on mass transit, where the courts have struck it down. Either your administration is trying to send a message to the American people that we, the government, is in control of we, the people, or you believe that it is justified because of a public emergency, public health emergency, to impose these mandates on the American people. Well, if you believe, like the agency says, and the experts, that we are still in this public health emergency, how in the world, in good conscience, can you give a pass to people who are coming to this country illegally by lifting Title 42, but still putting these unnecessary, freedom-infringing mandates on American citizens in the name of a public emergency? There's a disconnect there. It's incongruent, and it's upsetting, and I yield back, and I thank you for the time.
Thank the gentleman. Mr. Secretary, would you like to answer that?
Mr. Chairman, it'd be difficult, again, to untangle the misinformation that was articulated to be able to respond well. And again, the intermixing of two different elements, healthcare laws, migration laws, but I can always respond later on if the Congressman would like to follow up.
Thank the gentleman. Let me recognize the gentleman from Nevada, Mr. Horsford, to inquire.